Thank you, Render. Thank you, Max. So we'll get started here, and I want to first congratulate you all on your final letter of acceptance. I believe most of you do have your final letter of acceptance, which is why you're here today. If you don't have your final letter of acceptance yet, and you are still, sitting with your offer letter, haven't paid your deposit yet, I encourage you to do so. Just reach out to us to see if if you've passed your deadline and you need to request an extension. We can work with you on that depending on your program and our capacity for this fall. So congratulations, and we'll just quickly go over your next steps here before I hand it over to Max and Render to go over BorderPass. So for those who need a provincial attestation letter, also called as PAL, you can refer to your final letter of acceptance to follow the process to request and obtain your PAL. TRU will obtain your PAL from the government of BC for you, so you don't have to work directly with the government. We will do that for you, but we do need you to fill out a form, which the link to which is included with your final letter of acceptance. The reason we need you to fill out this form is because we want to make sure your first name, last name, your address, your passport details are all accurate on our system. And we will double check it before we obtain your PAL, because once we've obtained your PAL from the government of BC, we cannot change those details on the PAL. And we don't want to waste that PAL, because of typos and errors. So please review your final letter of acceptance, review your first name, last name, all the details outlined. And then when you request it, if you need any changes, please contact us. Just fill out the form as per the instructions and you should be good to go. If you are exempt from the PAL requirement, you do not need to fill out that form and you can directly move on to the next step. Right now, IRCC has exempted students enrolled in master's programs from the PAL requirement, as well as there are some other exemptions. So the link that's on the screen right now will take you to the list of students that are exempt from the PAL requirement, the list of scenarios essentially. But most of you, I believe, in this session today are not necessarily exchange students. If you're an exchange student who is coming to Canada for less than a semester, you may also fall in that category. If you have any questions regarding the PAL requirement or if you're exempted or not, please reach out to us again. But if you're an undergraduate student taking a bachelor's degree at TRU or an undergraduate diploma, a post-baccalaureate diploma, you will require the PAL or the provincial attestation letter. It takes us only 2 business days to obtain your PAL from the government of BC and send it to you. But this is a document that you will need as you apply for your study permit using BorderPass. So that brings me to the next slide here, which is applying for your Canadian study permit using BorderPass. You may have read this announcement multiple times from us and, with your final letter of acceptance as well. TRU has partnered with BorderPass to provide you with access to trusted Canadian immigration lawyers, and we're excited to have them here today. Verinder is the head of legal at BorderPass, and Max is the director of sales. And we've been working with them over the past few weeks to ensure that students have access to experienced Canadian immigration lawyers. And the team at BorderPass will review and submit your application to IRCC on your behalf. So you must have already reviewed all these details. If you are not familiar with BorderPass, we will be giving you a step-by-step process demo today, essentially, of the platform. In terms of the fees, TRU will cover BorderPass's service fees for you. You pay a standard admin filing fee of up to $25, and you're responsible for covering the IRCC fees, of course. So this is the provision that we've created for you so that you have access to Canadian immigration lawyers and their support as you prepare your study permit application. So without further ado, I'll hand it over to Max and Verinder to take it from here and give you a quick demo on how to use the BorderPass platform and introduce BorderPass as well. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Suraj. Yeah, guys, really excited. Nice to meet everyone. And, we're super excited to be working with Thomson Rivers. Just for those of you who may have seen the email but don't know, I'll give the quick, highlight again, just to add on Suraj's points about what BorderPass is. Really, we are the immigration platform to help you manage your journey of coming to study in Canada. And then once you arrive, helping you manage your journey beyond your studies through to working in Canada and even permanent residency if that's something that you desire. We have a team of immigration lawyers. As you can see, Virinder's with us here today. They're the ones that are going to support you through these applications and make sure that you are putting your best foot forward to making sure that you submit the most complete application and giving yourself the best chances of receiving an approval. And once you arrive here in Canada, any further immigration support that you need, applications that you need to complete, you can rely on the BorderPass platform to help you with that. We will notify you of the key dates, so you'll always know when your application or when your permits are going to expire. You can reach out via chat to our support team or to our legal team if you have any questions. And again, these costs are all covered by Thomson Rivers on your behalf outside of the fees that Siraj mentioned. So again, save your thousands of dollars that you may have spent on, consulting your own legal firm. BorderPass is here, partnered with Thomson Rivers to make this as affordable and seamless as possible for you all. So the purpose of today is really to show you guys the platform, make sure for those of you who have not yet started your process of a study permit application, that you begin so as soon as possible. Again, there are deadlines or I guess timelines that IRCC has in terms of how long they take to process. So we really want to make sure that students are given enough time to complete their applications and submit them to our legal team. And then of course to the government to make sure that you can arrive here in time for your study program date. So without further ado, I will share the platform. The first thing I want to share with you is the sign up page. So this is really what all Thomson Rivers students will have accessible to them to create their account. So you will get access to this custom BorderPass Thomson Rivers link where you will just create your profile using your first name, your last name, your email, your phone number, a secure password, and then inputting your Thomson Rivers student ID. That will then allow you to create your account in BorderPass and jump right into the dashboard. That experience looks like this. So the first thing you will do when you pop into the BorderPass platform is you will be asked to upload your letter of acceptance from Thomson Rivers, as well as your passport. The purpose of this is that we use technology to securely extract the key details from these documents and to help almost autofill aspects of your application to avoid any manual entry. Again, this is something that Siraj talked about when you're reviewing your letter of acceptance. IRCC needs to confirm that all the details are accurate per your legal documents. So this is the purpose for using technology to make this less error prone for all of you. Once you upload these two documents, the first thing you do in BorderPass is you complete the Getting Started assessment. So for the purpose of today's demo, I've auto-filled that for you. But once you complete the Getting Started assessment, this is going to provide us with a series of information about who you are as a student. That way we can help tailor your experience to your personal immigration journey. So asking you a series of questions like your program date, your graduation date. Again, a lot of this will come automated from your documents, just so that we can better understand who you are. You'll have the ability to review and confirm all of these details to confirm that they're accurate and up to date. And then what will happen is you will now have a schedule of important dates created for you. This is one of the most awesome features of BorderPass. You won't have to just log in to understand your important dates of when school starts, when is my graduation date, when does my passport expire, and eventually, if you're successful in receiving a study permit, that expiry date will appear here as well. And these are all tied to email notification so that months in advance, you'll be notified of what is the next step for me in my immigration journey. Maybe it's a study permit extension if you're going to continue your studies. Maybe it's a work permit, a PGWP. And BorderPass will be able to guide you along those processes with the help of Verinder and our awesome legal team. So now that I've completed the Getting Started assessment, I see my timeline here. I want to go and complete or start the study permit application. So let's jump into this. Again, for the purpose of today's demo, this has been auto-filled, which is why you can see that I'm 52% of the way complete. This tracker will always tell you where you are in the process of preparing your study permit application, and you'll always see the status down here as well. one thing that's really important to note is once this percentage gets to about 74 to 75%, you're actually able to submit to our legal team for review. This will only show 100% once it's been submitted to IRCC or there's a decision. So make sure that you get your application to that 74, 75% range as quickly as you can by obviously going through the application and uploading the necessary documents. And that's what I'm going to show you today. So as you can see here, we've completed the Getting Started assessment, and I'll show you that study permit application now. Again, this demo, it's been completed, but this will show as incomplete when all of you log into your platform so that you know it's actually the required step in order to submit to the legal team. So going through the study permit application, very similar look and feel. We know that immigration can be stressful. A lot of the government forms can look scary. So BorderPass is here to make this more warm, welcoming, and simplified for all of you to put together the best applications. So the study permit application asks you a series of questions. Who's supporting you financially? Have you paid your tuition yet? A lot of the information that's required by the government, as well as what's required by our expert legal team, because they know what it takes to put together the best application. So as you can see, there's a series of questions asking you about your prior visa, immigration history and things like that. And again, once you complete the study permit application, which is a series of, quick questions, you're then able to review the answers, confirm that they're accurate and up to date. If you need to make any changes, you can go back. And then once they're all good, you click confirm. And because in this demo, I indicated that someone was going to be supporting me financially, just like IRCC requires to understand your financial requirements and who is supporting you, BorderPass has this application built into the platform where you'll actually be able to go in, indicate who is supporting you, what is their name, what is the relationship, the reasons that they're supporting you. And this is very important because IRCC wants to make sure that there is a genuine relationship between you and the person supporting you financially, and that you actually do have sufficient funds to come to study in Canada. So then you would simply confirm again. And after that, you can move on to completing your statement of purpose. So I'm sure many of you have heard about this. This is a very crucial component to completing a study permit application. The statement of purpose is actually one of the more common reasons for refusal on a study permit application, just because there's not often enough detail given or a lot of depth in the answers that students provide. Again, BorderPass is here to support you, to make sure you're giving all the right information and completing this to the best quality as possible. So we've actually broken down the statement of purpose questions for you so that you understand what is being asked. And we give you examples of what are high quality answers to complete this to the best of my abilities. So for example, one question here says, clearly state your step-by-step career plan upon completing your Canadian study program and returning to your home country. And this is an example of where you would indicate a response to this, giving details such as maybe you're going to return to your current employer, maybe you want to get some additional work experience, maybe you want to start your own business. And we support you through this all the way through to completing a high quality statement of purpose. Maybe just for now, I'll pause because I think Verinder might have some great advice in terms of putting together the best statement of purpose.
Thanks, Max. Absolutely. This is a crucial component, and this is something officers will review to see if your plan to come to Canada and study is a logical plan in your circumstances. One of the fundamental things I always want to remind students is the study permit program in Canada is a temporary program. So while BorderPass does support you beyond in terms of any applications, if you would wish to stay in Canada to get a postgrad work permit or apply for express entry, at this stage of your immigration journey, BorderPass, IRCC wants to know whether you will be returning to your home country, to the country once you complete your studies, if you're going to go back, because it is it's a temporary program. It's meant to be a temporary program, so there has to be a commitment to return to your country. So often, sometimes in study permits, we'll see students say, I want to stay and work in Canada, or I want to stay in Canada for a couple of years after I've done my studies. IRCC doesn't like hearing that, so be mindful of that. The other thing is, I know Max showed those sample answers we have. Remember, those are samples. So when filling in the statement of purpose questionnaire, be really personal. The more personal detail you give, the more time you spend on this assessment, the better statement of purpose we can produce and provide. Because we do see this on occasion where students will essentially copy and paste the sample answers we provided, but then an officer will figure it out that, hey, look, this is obviously not tailored to this student. So be mindful of that. That's one area where students can really take the time, give detailed, personalized answer, really think about the plan of coming here to study, how it relates to your life, how it can advance your career, and how you will use that going back home.
Yeah, super helpful. Thanks, Verinder. So as you can see here, guys, now we have completed the getting started assessment. We've completed the study permit application. We indicated who is supporting us financially, and we've completed our statement of purpose. The last most important step is visiting the BorderPass document vault. I've heard from many students that we work with that this is one of the most helpful tools for them as they come to study in Canada. And the reason for this is because you have documents on your personal computer, on your personal email. Now you have a new email for Thompson Rivers and your new institution. Maybe you're getting a new computer. So you can rest assured that BorderPass will securely store all of the documents that are required for your current immigration journey, as well as the future applications that you're going to potentially apply for if you're interested beyond the temporary program like Verinder mentioned. Now, again, we make this very warm and welcoming. We even show you why certain documents are required to be uploaded. So for example, a language test. If you were interested in perhaps a permanent residency pathway, this is something that is important to upload for that. Maybe you're being asked here, as you can see, for your tuition deposit. If you come to Canada and want to open up a bank account, this could be something where they, are requiring to see this document. So we're always trying to be as intentional and educational about why you should upload certain documents. And again, it's very simple to upload a document. You simply click on the bar here. BorderPass will always give you the details of what IRCC is looking for in terms of the information they want to accept, the document file they want to accept. So as you can see, for a language test, we give you a variety of samples of the different providers. You would simply click this little arrow here, go into your drive, upload a language test, and off you go. And then you can pop back into the document vault to continue uploading all the documents. You will not be able to submit a BorderPass application until all these required documents are uploaded and all the assessments or applications are complete. I really wanted to draw your attention to a few core documents. One of them is the provincial attestation letter. I know Suraj was talking about this. Many of you may have this letter. Some of you maybe have just requested it or are waiting to request it. IRCC will not look at an application unless you are in one of the exempt programs that Suraj mentioned, if you do not have a provincial attestation letter. So make sure you upload that in your BorderPass portal. We also have here a use of representation form. This is where you will indicate that BorderPass is going to be your legal representation throughout this process. And there's a series of some other IRCC forms that are required to be uploaded as well. Verinder, are there any tips or tricks on some of those government forms and things in terms of uploading them?
Just be diligent. Be diligent and make sure you've answered all the questions that are required. Things that really delay applications is sometimes in forms. There are still required fields that are left blank. So that's a big one. On the study permit application, a quick real tip I can give is it'll ask you your tuition costs, your room and board, other, and then your available funds. So when you calculate your available funds, always input the amount of the tuition you've paid and the funds available to you. So it's because IRCC will take those as one. And also we often leave the room and board and other blank, because while we appreciate you calculating your possible expenses, you're actually creating a further financial burden for you to have to meet. And IRCC will look at that. And if you leave it blank, it's not actually a required field for them. It won't even cross their minds.
Awesome. And make sure you also download the forms from here. Don't go searching for your own forms online. We have the ability for you to actually get the right forms to upload within the BorderPass platform.
Sorry, Max, one more tip. The study permit application form and the Schedule 1, you cannot scan and upload those. Those forms need to be validated, and they must be validated digitally. So once the lawyer reviews them, they have to validate them, and then they can be uploaded to IRCC. IRCC, the website actually will not accept a scanned document, because a scanned document can't be validated. The family information form, as well as the use of rep, those are fine. I mean, we prefer the digital copy, obviously, but those don't need to be validated. The other two, Schedule 1 and the study permit application form, that's another thing that really slows down applications. We do see that often, where students will upload, they'll download it, they'll fill it out, they'll scan it and upload it. And then we have to basically either ask them to do it again, or we as the lawyers have to fill it out again, and that's really time consuming.
Yep. And again, these are really helpful tips and tricks, guys, because this is what will potentially delay submitting your study permit to IRCC. And we want to make sure that you put together the most complete application right away to make the process as seamless as possible in terms of getting a decision back to you. So what I'll show you now is what the document vault looks like once you've uploaded the required documents. So as you can see, I'm just auto-filling this in the demo, but these will show complete for all the necessary documents that are required to be uploaded and submitted. And at that point, you'll see if I go back into my study permit application, now I'm at that 74% range. So I would be actually eligible to submit to our legal team here at BorderPass for a lawyer review. One thing I wanted to touch on before I show you how to submit is payment. Again, Thompson Rivers is covering the costs for the students. All you will be required to pay is the IRCC processing fees, potentially biometrics if you haven't had that completed within the last 10 years, a small administrative fee, and of course, there may be additional fees if you're looking to bring family members and things like that if you're eligible. Thompson Rivers will be distributing to you information on how to actually waive the fees in BorderPass so that you are only paying for those applicable fees that we mentioned. So as you can see, all the assessments are completed, all the documents and forms are uploaded. IRCC does require or recommend a medical exam to be completed, so make sure at some point to streamline the process, you upload a medical exam as well. And as you can see here, submit for review is now available for me to click because I've completed the necessary steps. So this will just tell me what's important to know when my lawyer is reviewing my application. And at that point, I can submit. This will show me, obviously, based on how much funds I've uploaded at this point in the demo. I haven't uploaded the full funds, but you'll see that you can submit for legal review here. That will go right to our legal team. And then what will happen there is these additional steps will unlock at every step of the way, and you'll be notified by email. So once Verinder and the legal team at BorderPass submit your application to IRCC, this will unlock. It will show white, just like this one, and you'll be notified every step of the way through to your decision. The only other couple things I wanted to touch on before we open up the floor and turn things back to Suraj is just some other features and benefits of BorderPass. So, students often have questions about what do I have available to me when I want to work in Canada? What are the rules? So BorderPass shows you, some questions and answers here about working in Canada during your study program. We do the same about traveling. If you're curious about, can I travel on my study permit? What do I need to leave the country and come back? We give you all their information here and show you the necessary documents that once they're uploaded in your BorderPass platform will appear here. And there's also some questions and answers. We also have a housing platform. You will be able to input the address of where you will be living once you're coming to Canada. This is very important. If you're looking for campus dorm opportunities, this will actually direct you to Thompson Rivers housing options. BorderPass also has some options available here, so feel free to inquire with our team if you need any support through the chat bot. So I think that's a good time to show you what that looks like. Just in the bottom corner here, hopefully you can all see that. This is where you would input your information, and this would be directed to our support team. And if the question is required to be answered by a lawyer, this will then be triaged to them as well. So definitely, this is a free legal service where you, throughout your journey, whether you're in your home country or once you get approved and come to Canada, you have access to talking to a Canadian immigration lawyer who is here to help you and make sure that you have the right advice. So definitely take advantage of that. And the last thing I wanted to show you, but I won't touch too much on it, is just the work that we have available for you in the tips and tricks for permanent residency. We advise students not to wait until the point of graduation to start thinking about their next step in the Canadian immigration journey. So that's why available to you on day one is the ability to see what your express entry score might look like based on your study program and your pathway. And as you continue studying and working, you'll have the ability to actually refresh your score and see tips and tricks on how to enhance your score, whether it's through work experience, whether it's through your language test. So we try and keep you as up to date and knowledgeable on this process as possible. Once you start working, if you choose to in Canada, you can start tracking your work experience because that's required for applying to permanent residency here in Canada. And eventually, let's say everything goes good and I, update my score after years of studying and working. This is an ideal scenario where the student would have quite a lot of points. I would then be actually eligible to submit my application or my details into the express entry pool, at which point the BorderPass legal team will then notify you if you've been selected to then complete the application. So all of this can be done in BorderPass. Again, guys, we're here for you. Thompson Rivers has made this service accessible for you. So definitely sign up, take advantage. Don't spend your thousands of dollars consulting third-party legal teams. We have Verinder and our awesome team here at BorderPass to support you. And I know Verinder has something to say, so I'll just turn it over to him.
Max, can you take the page back to the document vault?
Yes.
So in terms of not just a speedy application review, but the best chance at an approval, this is where your meat and potatoes is. Like the number one thing I can talk about on this point is the finances, right? We often see, and I'll tell you, and we've tried to make this as detailed. I did see in the Q&A, what's the required amount of finances? The required amount is that number right there. You need $20,000, $20,635 plus the amount of your tuition. So if your tuition is $18,000, you need approximately $39,000 Canadian available to you. And how can that be available to you? Like I said earlier, you can pay the entirety of your first year's tuition and then have $21,000. Then you meet the minimum requirement. Obviously, the minimum requirement is the minimum requirement. The more you show, the better. A couple other things that IRCC wants to see. They want to see at least 4 to 6 months of the most recent statements. So if we're submitting in May, they want to see at least, if we're submitting May 1st, they want to see April's documents. April, March, February, January 2024. That's 4 months, right? That shows a history. The other thing that IRCC and in our experience absolutely does not like, corporate bank statements. If you're providing corporate bank statements, there is, with usual surety, and we will message you once we review if we see corporate bank statements, but with general certainty, we can say corporate bank statements are a big reason for refusals, right? So, and we see with students, they say, no, we want to use the corporate statements. And me as the lawyer, I'm telling you, this is really nice that we're doing this webinar, is there is, I don't want to say 100% chance, but it's very, very, very high if you submit a corporate bank statement, that you're going to get a refusal. If you do, our recommendation is always take the money from the corporate bank account, put it into your personal bank account. The other big one we see is when we see big lump sums. So if you have in January, let's say $1,000 in your bank account, and then in April, $19,000 show up, IRCC is going to say, no, that's a no-no, because in their mind, this person has taken money from somewhere, maybe that's not theirs, and put it in their bank account just to show that they have $20,000. If you have lump sums, or are you going to refuse? I mean, we're getting close to September 1, so this may not be so practical, but if you are going to receive money from somebody else, have it sit in your bank account for a couple of months, or alternatively, give an explanation. If you've sold a house, sold a car, sold something like that, show the documents that can evidence why the lump sum is there. Or alternatively, because we did show the financial support page, if someone is giving you that money, list them as one of your financial supporters. You might have to provide their bank statements and their we require a signed and often notarized letter advising of their commitment to support you. So that's a huge way to help yourself. If you provide 4 months of clear bank statements that are in a personal account, the speed of your review will be drastically better, number one. But number two, it's your chances of success. Because I do see some questions about why is my review taking so long? We won't submit an application if we think it's not the strongest possible application. And there comes a point where your circumstances are your circumstances, and we can't really change or alter those, because we want to be transparent and honest with IRCC at all times. That's going to be in your best interest. So there comes a point where you say, okay, well, this is the best application for you. So that's our point. That's our goal, is to get to the best application for you. How can you help with that? Is, like we said, make sure you have very detailed, very organized documents. And the biggest one we see always is the finances.
Awesome. Super helpful. So the last thing I'll say for the folks on the call today is, if you haven't already signed up for BorderPass, make sure you visit the Thompson Rivers University link. For additional information, there's also this website, borderpass.ca, welcome-TRU, if you wanted to learn more. But I'll turn things over to Suraj.
Thank you, Max, and thank you, Virender. That was really helpful. For students who don't know how to access your TRU BorderPass link, it is available at tru.ca/BorderPass, or you can follow the instructions with your final letter of acceptance. Your final letter of acceptance will also include the promo code that you can use to waive the BorderPass fees when you get to the payment section, like Max mentioned. So I know there's some really solid questions here. So before we move into the questions, I just want to quickly go over just one last piece regarding the visa confirmation deadlines. So most of you are enrolled for our September intake, which means you should apply for your study permit as soon as possible. Currently, the study permit processing time, as per the IRCC website, is about 12 weeks, but we've heard from BorderPass as well as from our other agents that it is definitely, visa processing right now is slightly faster than 12 weeks for sure. And you should have it in time for the September intake as long as you apply as soon as possible. TRU's visa confirmation deadline is August 15, 2024 for the September intake. What that means is you need to upload your passport request letter from IRCC or your study permit approval document to the visa confirmation link. This is also included with your final letter of acceptance. Once you upload that document, you update your visa status with us, we're able to start registering you for courses. Classes begin in early September, and we need to ensure you have your courses in place before classes begin, which is why our visa confirmation deadline is August 15. And that said, if you do get your visa after August 15, let's say you get it on September 1st, we still do want you to check in with us. If we do have capacity, we will find you a seat, but the visa confirmation deadline officially as of today is August 15, 2024. Now, I think we've covered all your next steps and we're ready to move into the Q&A. Max, I think it'll be best for you to probably share the BorderPass screen because some of these questions are related to the system and the platform, and maybe we can just take these questions one at a time and address those as we go. So maybe I'll just ask the questions away, and Max or Verinder, depending on the question and who wants to answer, just feel free and jump in and respond. The first question here is for students who have already submitted their study permit application themselves or through an agent, without using BorderPass, what type of supports are available for these type of students?
Yeah, I can jump on that one. So if you've already submitted your study permit application, once you receive an approval, if you arrive into Canada, feel free to log on to the BorderPass platform, upload your study permit, and then you'll be able to take advantage of all the benefits of BorderPass that come from the partnership with Thompson Rivers, whereby you can have ongoing legal support. You'll get the notifications and tracking so that when your study permit's going to expire, you'll receive the notifications and know what is the next step for me in my journey. And you'll also get to take advantage of significantly discounted prices on your next applications. Again, a study permit extension, a work permit, as far as permanent residency. And you'll be able to map out your employment pathway that is tied to an optimal express entry or permanent residency pathway, so that on day one, you are educated and equipped with all the knowledge of how to, continue and progress on an optimal Canadian immigration journey.
Thank you, Max. The next question, I think I'm going to take this one. The question is, can I defer my semester for the second time if IRCC doesn't send me the passport request within these months? So you can defer. If you haven't heard back from IRCC, you can defer within 1 calendar year. So feel free to defer, request a deferral. I'll share the link to request a deferral in the chat shortly. When you do defer, you have to upload your new letter of acceptance onto the IRCC portal as well. And we do recommend you work with BorderPass again at that time. If again, your application is still in process, I think, Max, in that case, would it be best for students to still submit create a BorderPass profile and upload the new LOA? How does that work for students?
If they're deferring?
They're deferring, but they've already applied for their study permit.
If it hasn't been through BorderPass, then similarly, once they arrive into Canada, they're able to kind of upload their study permit and take advantage of the benefits of BorderPass once they are onshore. But if students end up deferring and receive a new letter of acceptance and have not yet started the study permit application, that's the instance where BorderPass would be able to help you arriving here.
Okay, perfect. Thanks. The next question here is, my study permit application has been submitted to IRCC and now waiting for the biometrics letter from BorderPass. Can you please let me know when will I be receiving it?
So I can take that one. Once an application is submitted, the biometrics collection letter usually comes. Sometimes it comes immediately, but sometimes there is a couple of days delay. I can say this much: last week, the IRCC portal as a whole was down for much of the week. So there's been a bit of delay with respect to finalizing certain applications, because I do see that in the Q&A as well, but also receiving correspondence from IRCC. So because of that system crash on their side, there was a bit of delay, obviously, because we have to navigate with that. We have our own portal, but we have to navigate that as well. If this user, because I do have access to it now, and they don't, because it's a personal question, if this user can send in their name, I can double check, because it's on my end, I just see anonymous. So this can be a quick fix if I knew who the user was, and then I can have that answer for them relatively quickly.
Or feel free to have them, reach out in our again. you know, our support team is amazing at responding. No student should go, you know, more than a day or two without a response from our team. They're very prompt, and they'll make sure that you are following the steps accordingly. Again, the purpose of using BorderPass is to ensure that your application is complete, which gives you the best chances of getting an approval. So we do urge you to complete your application as soon as possible, but to understand that the lawyers may actually come back to you and say, hey, do you mind uploading this document or changing this? Because they want to make sure that, again, you're putting together the best application.
And we as the lawyers, we take responsibility here. And I appreciate on the student side that there's anxiety as September is inching forward, and I appreciate that there's a desire to get this out as quick. I know we give on the website, I believe it's 10 business days, as quick as possible. The reality is, treating those as hard and fast deadlines doesn't serve the student. It's not in the student's best interest for us to rush an application, right? The more detailed review, and this is another thing I also appreciate, that it might be annoying sometimes, because in the standard practice where you're paying, you know, when you see a lawyer, sometimes you go into the lawyer's office and right there and then you can go back and forth on the documents. This is a bit of a different approach, right? Obviously, as Max said, it's a lawyer almost for free. With quite a bit of immigration experience. So, but that doesn't mean you get you actually, the goal is to give you the absolute best service, right? The goal is to give you the best application, the most detailed review. And sometimes with that comes a request for documents or a clarification on your statement of purpose or further clarifications, as you'll see, because we found in our experience that there's many times where, because of the detailed, and sometimes we have more than one lawyer review your application, with the detail of review, we've saved students from misrepresentations, which otherwise would have been an issue, right? We've saved students, and misrepresentations come with a 5-year ban, so those are very bad. But we've had those instances where, because of our detailed review and our process, internal process, that we've been able to save students from such, you know, like negative outcomes, if you will.
Thank you, Vrinder. I think the next question, you already answered like a part of this question, but I'm going to ask it anyway, because I do believe a lot of students have concerns around the timelines. So the question here is, I would like to find out why it takes 10 days to review our documents. You did answer that piece. Now I received my SOP and it had some few mistakes, which I was asked to correct and upload it myself. Will the lawyer review it again? And then does it take another 10 business days from that point?
No, the goal is not to take 10 business days every time we take a request. We have an internal queue, right? We make sure we do a review within 10 days. If there are questions, obviously a couple of days will be added to get those details and finalize. And yes, we will do a final review of everything you've uploaded. It's not that we make a request and then say, all right, it's good, we made the request, and send it off. Anything we've requested or any issues. I did see that question. Be careful about confirming your statement of purpose if there are errors, right? If you've notified us, and I don't have right now the student's profile in front of me, but if you've notified us and said, hey, look, these are the errors, I need this fixed, this fixed, generally what will happen is either we'll confirm with you that we've updated it, or otherwise we'll send you back an updated, corrected version, another version, if you've told us what the errors are. This is getting better as a process as well, but I can see with students who have had that issue, I can tell you this much with surety, we don't provide IRCC anything. If you've flagged to say this is wrong, we'll make sure we review it. So with your student, 100% their SOP will be reviewed once again before it gets out, and then it will be submitted to IRCC.
Gotcha. Next question here is for students who are bringing their spouse to Canada. Should the proof of funds cover the entire family or just the individual?
For spouse study permit applications, I just want to make sure I have the correct number. You have to cover both. So, but the requirement increases, obviously, if you're bringing a second person. I believe for each additional family member, so whether it's spouse or child, it used to be $4,000, but I think that number's changed. So I don't want to give that answer right now because I don't want to give the wrong answer. But remember, especially when you bring a spouse, because the students who are PAL exempt are different because they can, the master's and doctorate students, their spouses are eligible for a spousal open work permit. So that financial requirement's a little less because the idea is that that spouse can come here and work. But for the spouse who comes here and they're a visitor, right? And remember, they can only stay for a maximum of 6 months when you're a visitor. You got to show that you can support yourself as a student and your spouse for the period of their stay in Canada because they can't work when they're here. I just, if you guys can go to the next question, I'll have the answer on the amount of funds required in just a second here.
Sounds good. Thank you, Render. The next question is, can one BorderPass without submitting the financial documents?
No, the answer to that is no. Again, guys, the financial supporting documents and financial documents is the most crucial part of your study permit application. You need to show that you have sufficient funds to come to Canada based on the requirements that will be outlined and described in the BorderPass platform. IRCC would not look at a study permit application that does not contain the financial documents. So our lawyers would require that you upload them if you want us to submit your application to IRCC.
Thanks,
Yeah,
Matt.
we can't move forward. And my initial answer was correct on the spouse. If you are bringing a spouse, so for first family member accompanying, you must show 25,695 plus first year tuition. So if tuition is 20,000, so you'd have to show almost $46,000. It goes up with each additional family member. So if you're saying I want to bring spouse and my young baby, then it's 31,000. And the next one's 38,000. Just remember, right, and this is not to deter people because there are circumstances, bringing spouses is tricky because it inherently weakens your application. Because one of the number one things the IRCC wants to see is ties to your home country. And if you're bringing your spouse here, that's a big anchor from your home country that you're letting go and bringing with you. And the same goes with children. Because IRCC, remember, wants to see you come, wants you to study, and then the idea is for you to go back because it's a temporary program.
So follow-up question to that, Brenda, would you recommend students who have spouses to first apply for themselves their study permit and then apply for their spouse at a later time?
I would be careful about that because IRCC, for visitors, because if you're here for 4 years, it might make more sense that, hey, you establish yourself, one of you get here, and then if a spouse wants to visit, they can come visit. The only thing I'd be mindful about is if you submit an application and then shortly, right away, you submit your visitor application for your spouse, IRCC might look at that and say, hey, this person wasn't being really truthful when they said my spouse is not accompanying me. So the goal, not the goal, you have to always be transparent and honest with IRCC. So if you have an intent, another purpose, be transparent about it. But practically speaking, the strongest application is the one where the student comes on their own and has those ties to their home country. Because as soon as you start picking up the roots from home and bringing them here, IRCC looks at it and goes, well, maybe they won't go back. Maybe they're trying to, this is a thinly veiled attempt for them to, permanently move to Canada. And we at BorderPass support these immigration processes. But remember, the goal is to get you here. So we want to make sure we give the best application, and we do see that sometimes, and we will take the time to do sometimes consults for these types of users because, like I said, inherently, logically speaking, bringing your spouse takes away an anchor from home.
Thank you. There's a student who doesn't see anything regarding a medical test on the BorderPass platform. Would that
So
That-
medical exams, upfront medical exams are dependent on the country you're from. So we will determine once you upload your passport, whether you require an upfront medical exam. So they're not universal, they're not for everybody. But if you do require one, and otherwise they are optional, right? But if you do wish to take one, you can upload it. But it's recommended, and if you're from a country that requires an upfront medical exam, then you will be required to take one. And then remember, the medical exams aren't as simple as just going to your doctor. It's an IME. You have to go to an approved doctor and get the medical exam done and have the proper paperwork.
Thank you. Follow-up question on that. So the results of the medical exam are sent directly to IRCC and not shared with the student. So what should students upload for the medical exam question?
Sorry, the results were shared directly with IRCC?
The results of the medical exam are sent directly to IRCC by the panel physicians. I believe the student's question is, if the results are being shared directly with IRCC, what should they upload for the BorderPass on the BorderPass application?
So generally, we get the e-medical exam confirmation. So I'm trying to find an example where I can share without.
Yeah, I think it says right here on the screen that what you will receive, and then I believe it's the IMM 1017B form. Is that what you need, or?
Yep.
So yeah, that's it.
Perfect.
I don't have a redacted
Sample?
one to show right now. It's a sample, so I apologize. But if the student wants to reach out, we can assist them further.
Yeah, I want to remind students that at any point during your application, if you have any challenges, please reach out to the BorderPass support team by just clicking on the blue button that Max just showed you to chat with the support team and get your responses. Next question here. After filling in my application for the study permit form, I printed it out and signed before scanning and uploading onto the BorderPass vault. Is that right? Should they print, sign, scan, and then upload?
Sorry, say that question again.
The student printed out the application for the study permit, signed it, scanned it, and uploaded it to the BorderPass platform. Is that the correct process?
No, we want the digital web form. So those forms, you can digitally sign them. You don't have to hand sign them, right? But if you print it out and then scan it and return it, we can't, it's called, the process is called validating. So we can't validate the form. And if the form is not validated, it cannot be uploaded to IRCC. So in those situations, we generally will send it back to the user and make a request and say, please upload the digital web form or digital application form. But scanning, like I said earlier, there's two forms that you absolutely cannot print, scan, and send back. And that's the Schedule 1 and the application for study permit.
I will post this knowledge base article, which is on the BorderPass website about downloading and completing the government forms. There's also quite a lot of other good information here in terms of completing your applications, uploading financial documents, and all sorts of good stuff. So feel free to bookmark this, save it. It will be your best friend. But again, the support chat is there for you as well. But this will show you the right tools to download if you need support in digitally signing these documents or digitally validating them, as Verinder mentioned.
Thank you. The next question here is, I'm already in Canada with a secondary school study permit. My parents are here too, and we are on a PGWP. Do I still need a PAL? Verinder, would you be able to answer this question, or would you like TRU to take this one?
Well, I believe it depends on the program they take, but I think, when does their study permit, if their study permit is set to expire and they need to apply for a new one, I think they will need to show.
Yeah, I would say it's best if you can contact us at welcome@tru.ca. I'm just going to quickly provide this email address, and then our international student advisors can confirm if you need a PAL or not. And if you need it, then we'll send you the process on how to request and obtain your PAL. Or you can email me. My email address, I'm just adding that in the chat as well. It's sshah@tru.ca. And I'll have someone from my team respond to your question. The next one here is regarding the processing time again. So I am at the lawyer review stage and it has now taken over 10 business days to move forward. What would you recommend?
We would recommend you stay patient. We're in the midst of reviewing applications. We have actually, and we made this a priority last week with TRU students. They're getting prioritized right now. So we will make sure in the next couple of days, I'm sure you'll hear from a lawyer. And we'll move your application forward. And we do apologize. Remember, we say 10 business days, but last week we lost about 5 business days because of the IRCC website crash.
Absolutely. Thank you. Next question here is, what is a co-op letter?
So a co-op letter is some universities don't give the co-op letter. It's actually integrated into your letter of acceptance if there is a co-op component. It is important for us to know that because we also want your study permit to have those co-op conditions. So if you have a co-op program on your study permit, on your letter of acceptance, so to be clear, so they don't do separate co-op letters at TRU? I don't think so.
Yeah, we don't do that. So it's on the final letter of acceptance.
So if it's on your letter of acceptance, then you click yes to co-op. In the co-op letter part, you would just re-upload your letter of acceptance.
Thanks, Render. And would that also apply to practicums?
Yes. Yes.
Yep. So your final letter of acceptance will indicate if a co-op or a practicum is mandatory and required for your program. So in that case, please upload that document. The next question is, what is the cutoff to submit my study permit application for the September 2024 intake? I want to respond to this question. We recommend you apply for your study permit as soon as possible, but there is a deadline for the visa confirmation with TRU, which I mentioned is August 15, 2024 for the September intake, which means we need your study permit approved by August 15. After August 15, we will still invite you to upload your study permit documents with us and update your status. If we have a seat, it will be assigned to you. If not, you will be deferred to the next available intake for that program. The next question here is, I've uploaded my passport request letter. Should I upload my visa stamp as well once I get my passport back? So no, once you've uploaded your passport request letter through the visa confirmation form, we don't need you to provide any other documents. Your passport request letter is sufficient for us to update your study permit status with TRU and register you for courses. The next one here is, I wanted to ask if medical exam is required for UAE since it comes under non-SDS country. So I have not done it yet and my application has been submitted to IRCC. I believe this was already answered.
I can just, for UAE, I want to answer the other question about the in-Canada student. If they already have a study permit, they'll technically be applying for a study permit extension, so they won't need a PAL.
Perfect, thank you. So this is for the student who is in Canada with their parents on a PGWP. You wouldn't need a PAL because you would be extending your study permit. And then for the UAE, which is a non-SDS country, you do not need a medical exam. It's optional, right, Brender?
Yeah. SDS and medical exam requirements are different. SDS is just a stream, it's a student direct stream. What SDS, if you're from an eligible SDS country and you meet the requirements, it's essentially a faster processing on the IRCC side, not on our side. So just because it's not required or they're not an SDS country does not mean that the medical requirement would not apply to you. But for UAE, I believe it is optional.
Oh, okay, perfect. So when a student creates a profile on the BorderPass platform and they're sharing their nationality, they would see questions that are only relevant to them, right? Like, for example, they wouldn't see a mandatory medical component.
Yeah, and that's why we ask for your passport in the beginning, because we extract key data and we run it through our database to see exactly what questions that are tailored to you. We don't have it's not a standard, everybody gets the same. Different students will get different questions because there's different circumstances. So that's one of the beautiful parts about BorderPass is that it's actually it's a personally tailored service to you.
Perfect. Thank you. We're 25 minutes from the end of the session, so we do have about 30 questions to go. So I'm going to be as quick as possible here, and I'll take some of the burning questions first. So can you please share processing times from IRCC side of things? How long does it take to hear
That
back?
is we say follow the time on the website, which varies. Actually, it's not, we know this because of internal data that it's not the same for every country. So we want to be mindful of but IRCC processing times, the best practice is to use the times on the website, but we do know that if you can submit them now, your chances are you'll get an answer before September. They do their best, but it's really, really tough to say exactly what the time is, because on the IRCC website, you got to understand as an institution, if they say 2 weeks, you're going to hold them to 2 weeks, right? So it's in their interest to give themselves some cushion. So it may not be 12 weeks, but it probably definitely won't be like
2 weeks. Yeah.
yeah.
Thanks. Sorry, Max, did you have a?
Nope.
The next question here is, after the lawyer review has been completed with BorderPass, how long does it take to apply to IRCC for BorderPass?
Sorry, say that again.
Once they've completed the lawyer review with BorderPass, how long does it take for BorderPass to submit the application?
Once your application is reviewed and it's all documents are there, no further requests, it gets uploaded right away. So the goal when we say 10 days, the goal of 10 days is to review and submit, right? We hold ourselves to that standard. Like I said, there's inevitable circumstances that are outside of the user's control and our control that might cause a delay, because like we said, we want the best application forward. But once a review is done and there's no further requests, it gets uploaded to IRCC right away.
Thanks, Render. The next question is, does BorderPass handle appeals?
We don't do appeals. This is a limited retainer. We can resubmit applications, and in very select circumstances, if it's an application we have submitted and we've determined that there is a avenue for this resolution, we do something called there's early judicial review. We will do that, but we handle cases kind of case by case. Appeals and go to the appeal division, that's not something that we do.
The next question here is, do I need to notify TRU when I upload my study permit application to IRCC? So no, you do not need to do that. Oh, sorry, I think I misunderstood the question. The question is, do I get a notification when I confirm my visa with TRU? The answer to that is yes. Once you've confirmed your visa status with TRU, you'll get an email from us saying that your visa status has been approved, your records have been updated, and your registration is in process. The next question is, can a person who got visa for a college program and permit already in Canada but changed DLI to TRU for September upload the permit and apply for extension as the master's program continues? I'm going to take this question as well. So yes, please upload your study permit approval to the TRU form as soon as possible, and then we'll be able to register you for courses for your master's program. And in terms of your study permit extension, TRU does have a team of RISIAs and RCIC as well who can support you with your study permit extension application. Alternatively, you can use BorderPass services as well for your study permit extension application. All right, the next question here is, just give me a moment. Okay, so we have a few longer questions here. I'm going to try to summarize these. So I paid part payment of my fees, even though I have the full year fees and living expenses in my bank account. Will that be a challenge? And secondly, I made my earlier payment for the BorderPass fee. I decided to include my spouse for visit visa later during the process. However, I did not get any prompt for payment for my spouse. This seems to be a little case specific. Would it be best for them to reach out to BorderPass support team?
Yeah, I would specific cases, just reach out to our support team and we'll have that triaged to our legal team if required. But if it's something the support team will answer, then they should hear back quickly.
Yeah, we strongly recommend you reach out to the BorderPass support team because that way, you'll get the specific answer to your questions. I see that, you have a very specific case here. And the next question here, again, it's a two-part question. So the first question is, I submitted my application to the BorderPass portal early last week. When can I expect BorderPass to submit my application to IRCC if it's ready to go? So I believe they already answered that question. It should take within 10 business days is the current timeline. Sometimes it can take a day or two extra, but I think I know the student and I believe we're in touch with BorderPass regarding your application as well from TRU side. The second question here is, why doesn't BorderPass cover or accept applications for accompanied children on their platform? Many students, especially mature ones pursuing master's programs, often have spouses and kids. This exclusive system initially increased my tension, but I appreciate BorderPass assisting me on that point anyway.
Thank you for that question, and I do appreciate. I'm a parent as well, so I get the anxiety around something like that. But we do that on our platform. We do it on a more kind of version 1 basis, but we do cover children, and we have submitted applications with children.
Thank you. And I believe in this case, BorderPass's team recommended the student to first apply for themselves. Like Brenda mentioned previously during this session, the strongest case would be to show ties in your home country. I am not authorized by the government of Canada to give any immigration advice, but I do think that is some strong recommendation from BorderPass.
I just want to be careful. I want to be careful, right? What I wanted to say was these are possible scenarios, and scenario 1 is a stronger application than scenario 2. I don't want to give the advice that you should make an application with a certain intent to circumnavigate, circumvent certain IRCC processes. But just to answer that user's question, we do it off the platform. If you have children, you can reach out to the CS team, and we can do that application, and we do generally do what we call it manually. It's not something we open up to the mass public just yet, but it is something we can help each student with.
Thank you. Yep. The next question is, after filling in my application for the study permit form, I printed it out, signed it before scanning and uploading it to the BorderPass vault. Is that right? I believe this question was already answered. That is not correct. Please use the web form. Please sign it digitally and upload it again so that it can be validated on the BorderPass platform. The next question is regarding, I have a doubt about the use of a representative form. I have actually left it blank and just submitted it, as my agent told me to leave it blank as it is not needed for a bachelor's degree. And my application has been submitted to IRCC, so I'm pretty sure the lawyer must have checked that form. I believe.
I would say in that case, definitely write into the support team. That would be something that they can look into your case to clarify.
Yeah, again, in case-specific questions, it would be best if you work directly with BorderPass's support team. The next question is, I am registered to a non-graduate program. Will my spouse be refused a visa to accompany me, or only the work permit will be refused?
Sorry, say that question again, Serge.
As I'm registered to an undergraduate program, essentially. Will my spouse be refused to refuse a visa, essentially? Like
have they already applied for a study permit? And what the rules on spousal open work permits changed, right? Which spouses are eligible for an open work permit, and it's a far more narrow list. It's generally professional degrees, masters, and PhD degrees. So, and then if you applied before a certain time, but if they've already applied and it was an open work permit application, then the likely chances are you don't meet the eligibility requirements for your spouse. But I don't know the more detail. If they say, if the issue is that they've yet to apply, then we can answer that on BorderPass. And if they are already on BorderPass, this is also a question they can reach out to the CS team with.
Thank you. The next question is for students from Nigeria. I believe we do have a lot of students from Nigeria here today. So what about students who bank with non-traditional banks like microfinance banks? In Nigeria, the microfinance banks are more reliable and flexible than traditional banks.
So generally for the Nigerian microfinance banks, there's a my bank account, like it's like a barcode and it's a page that confirms. Provide that with your application and your financial documents. We work with IRCC is not super keen on microfinance banks, but when you give that my bank statement, I think that's a further confirmation of the legitimacy of the bank. In our experience, Nigerian banks are actually very, very organized and give a very detailed breakdown of available funds, closing funds, opening funds. So they're great. The one issue I'll say, because we see it mostly, and I want to harp on this one, we see it a lot from our Nigerian applicants, is the corporate bank statements. No corporate bank statements, because your chances of refusal are so high with the corporate bank statement.
Thank you. So the My Bank statement would be the best proof of funds for Nigerian students?
In addition to the actual bank statements, it's an additional certificate page confirmation they give.
Perfect. Thanks. How much time does BorderPass take to submit applications to IRCC? I believe that was already answered. The next question is, what if they see a refusal for September and they have to reapply for visa for the January intake? Would there be a charge again for the reapplication?
So at BorderPass, and this is just a housekeeping thing, I guess, but we believe in our product and we believe we're giving you the best application. So only in select circumstances, because we review, if there's ever a refusal, if we submit the application and there's a refusal, we do a detailed review and audit of the refusal, and we will determine internally whether it's eligible for a reapplication through us, because you will have to pay the IRCC fees again, and we don't want you to keep paying the fees to submit the same application. So in the best interest of the student, we don't do reapplications if we don't think that there is something that we could fix, because we think the best application and that's why we've said this in the beginning, our priority is to submit the best one the first time. Right? We don't want you to have to go through it more than once.
Makes sense. Thank you. The next question here is from a student who is also using an agent to work with their application to TRU. The section where it says use of a representative, is that for the agent or for BorderPass to serve as a representative?
It's for the lawyers. It's not for the agent. So the use of rep form is a form that allows us to act on your behalf as your lawyers, or notifies IRCC that we're working on your behalf.
Perfect. Thank you. The next question is, I'm in Canada already on a visitor visa, planning to take the Bachelor of Science at TRU for September. Can I do this and also receive my study permit without returning home?
So there, once again, for in Canada applicants who don't hold a study permit, there is a very limited list of exceptions of who can apply from within Canada. Generally speaking, if you're here on a visitor visa and your spouse is not here on a study permit or something, you can't apply from within Canada. You can apply as if you were outside of Canada, but you will have to leave Canada and then return. The visitor visa one is tricky because we also need to know when you first entered Canada, or last entered Canada, sorry, because visitor visas will have generally, they'll state that they're valid for a number of years, but the truth is you can only be here from once you enter for 6 months maximum. If you want to stay beyond the 6 months, you need a visitor record. If you've stayed beyond 6 months, you may not be eligible to apply for a study permit or admissible to apply for a study permit, because technically you did not abide by IRCC rules to leave Canada when you were supposed to. So that's a pretty case specific question, and that might be best answered on the CS team, but that's an overarching, the law surrounding it.
Thanks, Virender. And just again to remind everyone, the BorderPass CS team or customer support team, I'm guessing that's what CS is for. Perfect. Okay. Yeah, they're available to help you and support you. A lot of these questions are case specific, and we cannot take them here today. This wouldn't be the right forum for those. They're also very personal, so I do recommend you reach out to the CS team and seek support. There is another question here. How much money credited in a bank account is considered as a lump sum of money?
Well, it depends on your financial circumstances. If you're someone who has $1 million in your bank account and then $50,000 shows up, RCC doesn't bat an eye. But if you're someone, and think about it as percentages, if you're someone who has, if you've always had $2,000 in your bank account and then all of a sudden $20,000 shows up, I would say any amount that makes up more than 50% of your opening balance, right? 50% and over $10,000, roughly, I would say. It's a bit of an objective assessment, meaning it's a bit of subjective. It varies from the officer to officer reviewing. Officer might say, hey, $3,000 here is not a lump sum. But in circumstances where you've never seen $3,000 show up, that might be a lump sum. So it kind of varies. So if you see large amount of monies, general rule of thumb is anything over $4,000 or $5,000. If you see that showing up in your account, because they'll also flag if you just break down a lump. If you say, hey, I'm about to submit 30 grand or 30,000 and you just do it 5,000 at a time, that's gonna raise red flags as well.
Great. A follow-up question to that. Can I submit 8 months bank statement?
You can. You don't need to, but you can. There is a file limit on what can go into a file size limit that what can be uploaded to IRCC. So be mindful of that. It's 4 megabytes. Sometimes users, they provide far too many bank statements because truthfully, IRCC is not really concerned with what you had in your bank account in 2022, but the last 4 to 6 is kind of the sweet spot, right? 6 is ideal, 4 is the minimum, because then you can show 6 months of a financial, your financial circumstances, a trend in your banking, and the better, if you did receive a lump sum of money, if it was earlier in your if it's sitting in your account for 4 or 5 months, that's very compelling, as in that's your money and you can use it how you want.
Fantastic. Thank you. The next question here is for TRU. I haven't seen my study permit approval yet. Am I automatically deferred in that case? So the answer to that question is yes. If you do not upload your study permit by August 15 or before start of classes, if we don't have capacity, we will defer you to the next available intake. So you don't need to submit a deferral form in that regard, but it's best you do that anyway so that you can obtain your revised letter of acceptance. The next question here is it possible to do fall semester online while in Canada, then resume for 5 other semesters on site due to some personal reasons for international students? Again, I'd like to answer this question as well. TRU is not offering, we do have open learning courses, but we're not offering many of our programs online, the ones that you've been accepted for. So it would be best for you to arrive in Canada and study in person, or defer if you don't have your study permit in time, or to accommodate your personal situation. Let me see if there's any other questions we'd like to take today. Again, I see a couple questions around scanning, signing, and uploading a document. Please don't do that. Please use the web form and sign it digitally so that the system can validate it. If you follow the instructions, the BorderPass team will be able to deliver in the set timelines. When you don't follow the instructions, that's when there's missing documents and there's more follow-ups to be done, and kind of adds more time to the process. There's again another question regarding medical exam here. So could you please specify the exact medical exam that is required for my application? And are there any specific tests or exams that need to be included?
So it's an IME, right? So you have to go to an IRCC, I think, has the doctors who are on the list. So they're IRCC approved panel physicians have to conduct the medical exam, and usually you can tell them what the medical exam is for. I believe we have the details on. There you go.
Perfect. Thank you. The next question here is there another way to communicate with BorderPass besides chat and email?
So once again, we do have a, I believe this is a paid service, but we do have, and Max can speak to that. We do have in-person consults. We don't offer those, given the volume of students we work with. I'll be on the computer, talking to students all day, every day, nonstop. But if there are eligible questions that we don't think we can answer through chat, and you have very, circumstances that need addressing in person, we do in-person calls. But that's not a service that's just open to everybody. That's quite select. So I don't want to advertise that as, if you have any questions, you can just book a consult and, we can speak for 30 minutes. It's more tailored if we believe that it's necessary to speak. And often, and I know I'll do this, and I don't know if I've spoken to any students from TRU just yet, but there will be users, students who I will be the one who requests the consult if I think there's certain clarities requested. So goes back to it's a very detailed review, and before we have the chance to, you have the chance to reach out, we'll make sure we try to reach out.
Mac, you're muted.
The last thing I'll mention is, so the primary methods of communication are the chat as well as email. And shortly there will be text communication as well. So if your number is inputted into your profile in the BorderPass platform, that will be a method of communication.
Fantastic. Thank you. So with this, we will end our Q&A here for now. And we do recommend students to reach out to the BorderPass support team. Again, you can use the chat feature or email them at support@BorderPass. Sorry, it's hello@borderpass.ca. That's the email address. I think maybe we'll just invite Virender and Max for some closing remarks and some final comments. Virender, do you have any recommendations for students while they're in this journey of applying for their study permit? I saw some questions regarding what would be the best home ties to show, or, any recommendations, or final thoughts?
So I think really try to stick to the instructions that we have on BorderPass. Consistent engagement with BorderPass will serve you best, because you're essentially on a very intimate level connecting with a lawyer who will guide you. With respect to the best ties to home, and like I said, family back home is a great tie. If you own property back home, that's a great tie. Those are things, but it's difficult to give that answer because everybody has different circumstances. And the last thing you want to do is, and this is what I think, and I want to be careful here, what I think really separates us from the field in many ways is, we want you to get the best application forward and keep a healthy relationship with IRCC. So we're not in the business of fabricating or creating facts or anything like that. We want to use your circumstances and tell your story the best we possibly can to give you a chance of succeeding. So the reality is, if you don't have a wife and kid, or a husband and kid back home, or a spouse and kid back home, you can't make that up. I mean, you don't have that tie, that's fine, right? Everybody has different circumstances. So that it varies from user to from student to student to student. But we at BorderPass, with your engagement, we will make sure that, given the facts you've told us, and we ask you, put the time and effort in to give us the best facts or the most complete story. And then we will turn that into the most comprehensive and reviewed application to submit to IRCC. So that's my tip would be consistent engagement with BorderPass, and really, 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 really sticking to the guidelines and rules we provided for document upload. That will really help, because that's not just for processing times. Like I said, I appreciate the desire to do things fast, it's in my opinion, better to do things well. So consistent and the best documents will result in the best application to IRCC.
Yeah, not much more to add on that. Just wanted to thank, Suraj and TRU for having us onto today's webinar, and we're looking forward to reviewing everyone's applications and hopefully seeing everyone in Canada come September or January, whenever you may be looking to join us. And definitely just be reminded that Thompson Rivers is covering the bulk of these fees for you. So rather than consulting a third-party lawyer or elsewhere where you may spend thousands of dollars, Thompson Rivers wants their students to have the right advice, the most affordable services that not only stop at the point of study permit, but that follow them throughout their studies here in Canada. So keep that in mind. Wishing you all the best of luck, and thanks again, Suraj, for having us join.
Thank you, Serge, for having us, and thank you to the students for tuning in and asking insightful questions. It can be sometimes daunting to present these questions, but we do appreciate that you taking the time this morning to do that.
Thank you, Max. Thank you, Virender. We really appreciate all the wisdom you've shared with our students today, and we're really excited to see how these students come through with their study permits. For students, you must be aware of the pre-departure session that's being hosted later this week. So we look forward to seeing you there. If you have any questions, again, I would like to remind you, please don't hesitate to reach out to the BorderPass support team or to us at TRU. You have your marketing services representatives' contact information or your international student advisors' information. So please don't hesitate to reach out to us if you have any questions at all. Again, we're here to help you at every step of the way. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today, and I wish you a great day or good evening, good night, and see you soon. Thank you. Take care.
Everybody.